After all the madness that was going on with Train Sim World 6 throughout March, amongst which we also got the Thomas game, Wonders of Sodor, I thought I should go back to something comparatively easier for my brain to handle, in the form of a TS Classic video. Today's topic is a big tank engine from the London and South Western Railway, brought to TS by Caledonia Works. As a heads up, I might accidentally say G16 instead of H16 throughout the video. I often get the two classes mixed up, despite knowing that the H16 is a 462 Pacific and the G16 is a 480. Now that I think about it, suppose that you had a 462 locomotive as a friend, and you in the Pacific wanted to go meet your other mate, by the name of Kath, in Southeast Asia. You could say to the 462 something like, "Why don't we go to Hong Kong and catch up with Kath? Eh, Pacific?" The LSWR H16 was released for TS Classic on Saturday the 28th of March 2026. Coincidentally, that was the same day on which I went down country to see one of Auckland's electric trains on her way home, after spending a few months in the city of Wellington for a repaint. Thinking back to the big 462 tank engine, she is available from CW's website for £20, or $48.47 in New Zealand's currency. I was excited to see the H16 come to TS at last, since I've known about those engines for many years now. I learned of their existence from a book about the UK's 462 Pacifics, just like the North Eastern Railway Raven A2, which I've covered in a previous video. The H16 is one of many chonky tank engines in CW's current range, with other examples including, but not being limited to, the Caledonian Railway 492 class, London, Brighton and South Coast Railway L class, and London and North Western Railway 380 class. The H16 add-on includes all the liveries that these locomotives would have worn throughout their lives, with the selection being as follows. LSWR Uri Presto Green, which are sometimes unintentionally referred to as Pesto Green. Two variants of a traditional SR Presto Green, one labelled as 1923 and the other as 1923 to 1925. Three variants of SR Maunsell Lined Green, labelled as 1925 to 1930, 1930 to 1931, and 1939. SR Unlined Maunsell Green, 1939 to 1941. SR Unlined Malachite Green, 1940 to 1941. SR Black, 1940 to 1941. Second variant of SR Black, 1941 to 1948. Two variants of BR Transitional Black, one unmarked and the other with yellow Gill Sans lettering. BR Lined Black, 1948 to 1951, as worn only by one member of the class. And two variants of BR Unlined Black, 1951 to 1957 and 1957 to 1962. Personally, I wish that at least one fictional livery, namely LSWR Drummond Royal Green, could have been included with the H16, but that's just me. In any case, I am of the opinion that Mr. Wilson has done a good job with capturing the look of these distinctive tank engines. Same goes for the texturing and all. One thing in particular that I noticed was this point on the frame and water tanks, where they get narrower along the cab sides. I also noticed a prominent gap between the second and third driving axle, which reminds me of the Highland Railway Jones goods, and I think it's to make room for the firebox. There's also some subtle detail differences between the original LSWR and later BR variants of the H16, namely the LSWR Presto Green featuring additional brackets and a little brass thing on one side of the smokebox. Neither the brackets nor brass thing are present on the later variants. The H16 comes with the usual array of advanced features that one can expect on a CW locomotive that uses Locomotion 2.0 scripting. The features include, but are not limited to, advanced and simple driving modes, toggled with Control A, fire intensity synchronized with the exhaust beat, realistic steam chest simulation, posable gauge glasses, fluctuating boiler water level depending on the route gradient, scripted tank and water level, sander boxes that you can refill, with on-screen pop-ups that appear when you need to refill the boxes, and new dynamic smoke particles, with the H16 being the second add-on to feature these new particles from launch, the first being the LSWR L11 class. The full list of the H16's features can be found on the product listing at CW's website. Your mileage may vary, but personally, I found the H16 reasonably easy to drive, even in advanced mode, with the main challenge being the varying strength of the brakes, which of course depends on the weight of your train. And of course, you've also got the challenge of having to balance the regulator and reverser settings so as not to lose too much steam and speed when you're climbing hills. All CW add-ons include manuals with a full list of keyboard controls, which can be especially useful if you're new to driving steam locomotives in TS Classic. Much like the London and South Western Railway T14, London and North Eastern Railway P1, and Southern Railway L1, all of which I've covered in previous videos, the G16 features a scripted steam reverser. While keybinds for the reverser controls are the same as they always are, W for forwards, S for reverse, and E to engage or disengage the reverser lock, you'll have to switch to the F5 heads-up display or actually look at the reverser in the cab to get an accurate reading of its position. This is because the reverser icon on the F4 HUD will always spring back to the middle whenever you move it. For reference, the H16's ideal fire mass is 1500 to 1515 pounds, or around 71% on the F4 heads-up display, and she'll steam reasonably well if you maintain the coal at the aforementioned mass. Her full working boiler pressure is 175 pounds per square inch, while the water and coal capacities are 2,000 gallons, or 9,100 litres, and 3.6 metric tonnes respectively. In real life, these locomotives were designed for hauling freight trains between Feltham Marshalling Yard and other locations in London, but could also take passenger coaches, either for empty stock workings or out on rail tours. As far as I know, there aren't any routes in TS that feature the areas in which the H16s ran in real life, so I've had to make do with other UK steam routes. Two of those routes are at least in former LSWR territory, namely Dorset Coast and West of England Main Line from Golden Age developments. In this case, I was running a G16 on Western Lines of Scotland, a very long way from the real locomotive's stomping ground. As for rolling stock packs required for the locomotive's quick drive consists, these include CW's LSWR Wagon Pack 1 and BW Productions' SR 40-ton ballast hoppers. The full list of quick drive requirements can be found in a text file included with the H16's download folder, but not on the website listing as well. My first run with an H16 was on the Crabenmoor branch, and it wasn't long into the run before I realised that this locomotive is overkill for load 4 on a short branch line, especially given her power rating of 6F. She didn't have to work hard at all, thus resulting in the safety valves going off for most of the run, if not the whole run. For reference, the Crabenmoor branch is a fictional route made by Liter of Cola and released in December 2014, and you can still download it from Steam Workshop all these years later. Meanwhile, during a trial run from Dorchester South to Wool on GAD's Dorset coast, I got another H16 up to an absolute top speed of 62.3 miles per hour on level track with low to 6, and found that she has decent acceleration, especially with the reverser at around a 20 to 30% cut-off. Incidentally, Dorchester South is a station to which I've paid a visit in real life, although, to be honest, it's not one that I'd want to visit again. There may not be any authentic routes in TS for the H16 to run on, but I've enjoyed pottering about with this locomotive regardless, and I would still recommend her to other TS Classic players who are interested in the LSWR, and big tank engines in general, or just like to run whatever locomotive on whatever route they like. As for anything that could be improved on the H16, all I can think of is the train brake lever. At present, it's a little bit too sensitive to keyboard inputs. This video is not sponsored by CW, but even then, I would still encourage people to go and buy something from their website, be it the H16 or anything else that happens to tickle your fancy, so to speak. 6 packs in particular that I'd recommend are the LSWR A4 class 462 Pacific, Highland Railway Strath class 440, GWR number 24 Galloping Gertie, LMS Patriot 460, LNWR Greater Britain class 2222, and GWR Saint class 460. As for where I'd rate the LSWR H16 class, I reckon she deserves an 8 out of 10, and if you've stuck around to the end of the video, you win factually incorrect statements told by devices that can open doors, but said devices do not have much money. It's the Porkies telling Porkies.